So in this tutorial, I'm going to talk about dependency ratios and then go on to look at the case study requirement in this part of the syllabus. And when we consider dependency ratio, we need to be thinking of two sorts of societies, the youthful society and the aging society. So the youthful society, like what we saw earlier in the squatted population pyramid, has a high young population dependency. And this puts a lot of pressure on the society, especially in terms of education and maternal and child health care. The positives of this sort of society, if they can get on top of that health and educational service, then actually they have the opportunity to kind of economically grow and prosper. And we call this the demographic dividend. The aging society, again, this has some advantages. I mean, you have a relatively wealthy group of society who have leisure time, and so they have the time and the income to spend. But that doesn't, of course, cover everybody in the elderly part of the society. So the sort of services that are required, healthcare services, social care services, kind of stretch the government's spending provision. They need to provide pensions and social welfare. They need to provide social housing for the elderly. And remember, they're not working, so there's gaps in the job market, and there's a small active population. And so perhaps there's a need to sort of harness the skills of the elderly to keep people working a little bit longer in order to boost government spending and to reduce the pressure on kind of social services and healthcare. The course refers to two contrasting examples, so two countries, contrasting countries. And I think, first of all, what you should consider is how do those countries contrast? And they could contrast in a development, a state of development. They could contrast in their political system or in terms of political stability. But they are definitely going to contrast in terms of their population structure, size, demographic. For this purpose, I've looked at Nigeria and China. And there's lots of information on this within the site. These two population pyramids are quite interesting, and they show the change in the population structure over time. So Nigeria's population of 191 million, and then expected to rapidly increase. It has an extremely high dependency ratio, which peaked in 1987 at 92. China, of course, has this massive population, far more developed in terms of an economy, and it has a dependency ratio that's fallen over time, 76 in 1960, 39 today, its lowest level, 35 in 2010. So you get this real contrast in population size, you've got that contrast in terms of development, you've got that contrast in terms of population structure, a youthful population versus an aging population, as we see in China. And so the graphs there are worth looking at and worth studying, and then recalling really in any response which requires the case studies.